Are you?
Yeah.
There's nobody waiting to come in, right?
No.
Okay, perfect. I usually just put the participants on the side, just so,
Yes.
It'll- there you go, somebody must try and, oh, that's you, okay. All right. So we were discussing the minutes from February 6th. Did you have any?
No,
Sorry, do I have the wrong date? Is it
No,
February? Okay. I know I had the wrong date on the bottom of the agenda for our next meeting.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a vote.
yes,
Keith? Wes? Yes for me?
Yes.
George? Yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. That motion carries. Public comment? Marie? No? Okay. So old business, we'll start with Invest New Hampshire Up Grant update. Again,
I can give an update. So we met last night and we are finalizing the format that we're going to do our interviews with individuals. So last night we finalized that, and then once we have the updated copy, we will start the interviews, and our goal is finishing by the end of April with all of our interviews, so that we can come back to the planning board.
great. So you know of anybody that wants to be interviewed, please let Carter know. And or Pam, who's not here tonight, but they'll make sure they get on the list. Or people can email the planning board email or call the town office. I was also going to add that I had asked the committee to come and talk about the summary document on the community engagement events that they've hosted so far. And Ivy put together a summary. It's like 16 pages or something like that, which just talks about the work that they've done so far. And so I asked them to come and present that on March 5th. That's our next meeting. So I'll send the document out ahead of time so everyone has a chance to look at it. And then we'll hear what they have learned so far. Any questions on that one before we move on? Okay. So on the natural resources regulatory audit update, I think I sent that out, was it today? Yeah. So that came in at the end of last week. It's just a draft document so far. So he was not able to come to our next meeting in March. So I asked him to come March 19th. So you can read that between now and then and review it and have any questions prepared. So that's our second meeting in March. So Keith, I'm sorry, you're welcome to come back and hear the results. And then the Conservation Commission is hosting a presentation on the natural resources inventory. That's the project they've been working on for like 2 years now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been 2 years. And that's on April 17th, and that's at 6 p.m. And you'll be doing press for that before the event to get the word out.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna be posting flyers and things on the website. We're debating whether or not we're gonna do a mailing to all the town or not. But,
Okay,
yeah, we'll definitely.
okay. Great. So any questions on that? I would also add, and we can talk about this a little further down on the agenda, that they are working on maps. Keith and I had gotten some data from Avatar and from different sources and sent that to Moosewood, and they are matching it up with our existing land use maps and other maps that are in the master plan to try to, see if they can give us a usable map for those purposes. So
you'll be interested to see if they have it put into some type of database as well.
yeah, so they have the Avatar database that we sent.
No, but I mean, where it can link it all together.
Yeah. So they sent, I think I emailed, did I email that map that they sent me with the report? There was a draft they gave me, and then they said they still had more work to do on it. And he was going to get back to me when they had an updated version. And he's also working with Carol because Carol's updating the chapters, the master plan. So more to come on that, but it is in progress. And it sounds like they've made some good progress. On the next item, the tax map updates, I mentioned to Keith, it looks like the website hasn't been updated yet, so.
I'll contact Carol to contact Carol.
Perfect, thanks. So, so yeah, just let us know when those go live and we can check them, because last year there were, or last 2 years ago, there were some glitches once it was uploaded.
Oh, Carol did say that the map 5313, which was duplicated, has been fixed. And she's also got the new paper map as well as electronic version.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah,
So we will then contact, did you manage to contact the people on that one?
no, I can't remember who the,
I'll check back and I'll see.
okay.
We should let them know that you listen to.
Yeah, no, and check it and make sure that it's, yeah, sure.
Check.
5313 doesn't sound like the right number, though. Yeah, it just
On map 5A, make sure it's
5A. Okay. Murray's not here yet, so we'll table the driveway discussion, see if he's had any further conversations on that. He was gonna do some more research. I've already mentioned on the GIS mapping conversion, so we
we'll wait till we.
wait and see what we get from Moosewood. And we have, we're waiting on the site plan audit regulations until we finish the subdivision. And we did get a letter today from FEMA. That's the next item on the agenda. And that, so let me get mine.
Did you send anything through?
I think I emailed everyone
When?
this afternoon. Yeah, it was just today. It just came today. There will be a notice in the Union Leader tomorrow, letting residents know they can look at the maps and ask any questions, or there is an appeal process if they think something isn't correct on there. The appeal process, though, requires scientific or technical data. You can't just, it can't be anecdotal, and it can't just be someone saying this, area of my yard always floods, or I've never had water. Like it has to be scientific or technical. Otherwise, it's just a public comment, which is also fine. And any of those comments and questions go through Bill Ezell, or the select board, who's the chief executive officer of the community, according to FEMA. So, it goes that way, but certainly we'll be looking at it too. These are,
The PDFs that were sent, you need a password.
Yeah, I couldn't open them.
yeah, Bill had the same problem. I was able to open them, so I'll just try sending them as separate attachments. And then I just put them up on the website. There's a page on the planning board,
Okay.
through the planning board page, that has all the FEMA stuff we've received so far, including the preliminary maps, because they didn't send the maps with this notice. And like, I couldn't even find a link in here, but luckily I had them from the last time. The appeal process is 90 days, and the date that expires, I feel like I wrote it down. Maybe I just sent it to Bill. I think it's May 28th is the last day people can file an appeal if they, disagree with any of their results. So there's 2 maps on the website, one for the Kentucook and one for the Merrimack. So they're both listed on the planning board FEMA page. I think it's under the news and announcements on the right side. So there are areas in town that they've mapped as special flood hazard areas. So I'd like us to at least talk to the person in charge with the Office of Planning and Development in charge of the flood insurance program in New Hampshire, to see what our options are. So I don't know how you all feel about having somebody come in April. I feel like we have a few things already on our agenda before then. So thoughts?
Yeah, I think you should schedule that.
Okay,
That, because we're kind of in the middle of that.
right,
Try to wrap it out.
right, right. So I'll try to pick a date that.
Yeah.
It will probably be, it will be April for sure. Either the first or second. Second meeting in April. We'll see when they're available. Any questions on that? So I'll try resending that and I'll have Carol put them up on the webpage.
So those two PDFs are the maps themselves?
No, those are, that is well, so I have a copy of the letter. I didn't print the whole thing, but it's essentially, it's the letter and then it details what the appeal process is, if people want to appeal. It tells you the federal law that requires them to follow this process and, it's, you don't have to read the whole thing, but, but you can, and they are required to send all of that information to us. And then the second one is information about joining the National Flood Insurance Program, which I have printed
Is the
from
town
years
responsible-
past, but
is the town responsible for notifying the residents of the potential for their being in a floodplain?
not in the law, no, not that I read, but FEMA's responsible for doing that. So they're putting it in the union leader.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how many people read the union leader
Also,
and
we put it on the website. just
yeah, so
to-
that was my next question. So we did that the last time when the preliminary maps came out. We did an e-blast and we put the information on the website. So,
That would come.
yeah, if everyone's on board, I can write something up and
Yeah, that
just
makes
tell
sense.
people.
So what is the appeals process then that you're talking about? If nobody can see the map, what are they appealing?
Yeah, well, so that you can, it's just the website is really cumbersome for FEMA to find the maps. So the last time when we got these preliminary maps, I saved them as PDFs and I blew up the temple portions that had
Yeah.
areas that they identified, because otherwise it's not easy to find. So that's what I did last time.
Okay.
And they're still up on the website. There's, I mean, you can look, there's an area on West Road. That's the Kentucook watershed just on the line.
Yeah.
With Sharon. There's, along the brook on 101. Then around the reservoir. And then a little bit, it crosses over behind, what's that development across from the school? Franklin, no, what's that called?
I know what you're.
I know, it crosses over there and goes down a little bit where there was water, a brook. Is
Yeah.
where it's basically where it is. So there's not a lot of areas and there's no houses in any of the areas where they're identified. No buildings, no existing buildings. As far as we can tell. So any questions on that? Then on the regional impact, that was the other thing I got today. From Kathy Boot, she sent a letter. I don't know if she's online. She was
I did read that.
gonna try to come, but she wasn't sure, but.
Somebody called Kate.
Okay, well, she sent a letter, which I sent to you all, and I also sent to the New Ipswich Planning Board. So they have a copy of her comments and, in summary, she's concerned about traffic. She feels there's a problem with the traffic now and adding additional cars would be a problem. Make it worse. The New Ipswich Planning Board meets tomorrow night. They haven't discussed it since the last meeting in January. They tabled it at their last meeting. So tomorrow night, it's scheduled to, they're opening the hearing at 8 o'clock on this. I don't know if anyone's able to go. I have a meeting at 7, so I'm not sure I can attend, but just to listen and be able to report back and ask any questions. Yeah, there is a link to do it, to listen in remotely if you can't be there in person.
I may try to do that, but I
Where?
cannot.
Okay,
The other link,
I do. So on the Town of New Ipswich page, under their planning board, they have agendas similar to what we have. And if you click on the agenda, this is what it looks like. There's the link to join the Zoom meeting. And then they have a link to the Dropbox that has all the files associated. That and everything they've received so far. So, yeah, sure.
Not on that one.
No. If you want this, you can have that, either one of you, if you think you can go as the Zoom, but you have to probably
Yeah,
get the electronic version to get the link, but
You need another copy of that one, right?
it's on their website,
I
so. Thank you, Kendall. So it'd be good to just keep an eye on how that's going and find out if there's anything else we can do. Any questions on that one? I feel like we're working right through the agenda.
I mean, on that one, I think we've done as much. I mean, we've asked for a traffic study, right?
Right,
Which it sounded like they were already going to
considering
do.
they're already, yeah, it sounded like there was support for that, but they had not accepted the application as complete at that point in
Right.
January. They're still gathering information, but it is a hearing, so public input is allowed.
Yeah.
So basically it's like we're a butter, so we have the right to comment, but
Right.
they ultimately make the decision.
Where do they hold that?
In their town office?
Already in town?
Yeah, I think the address is on there. I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you. I used my
I
GPS,
know.
so you go in and it's sort of in a back room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
So,
say it's on the planning board page?
the New Ipswich
Okay.
Planning Board,
Okay, I'll-
and then there's agendas, I think, on the right side. And it has minutes from their last meetings. There's a whole lot of information. There's a file that says Brookhaven, and that's all the files specifically, but not the minutes. So you got to look at the minutes for the other comments. Any other questions on that one? Okay. So I guess we will go back to the subdivision. We'll see if that's Murray. It is Murray.
Finally. Excellent signing.
Ken, you came in late. Did you have any comment, any public comment? Any questions? Thanks. You need a minute, Murray? Oh. While Murray's getting settled, was also just gonna mention this Conservation Commission public hearing on March 13th. That's about the two properties to put in conservation. That's at 6 p.m. in the town hall, March 13th. Notice went out today, and there is a Zoom option. And it will be recorded, presumably. That is the day after voting.
Yes, we're hoping that it's gonna be.
Okay. So do you need another minute, Murray, or? Okay, we've gone through everything in the agenda except for the subdivision. We're up to the subdivision regulations. And we tabled the driveway. Do you have any new information? Okay. I did send out the last version of the driveway regs we looked at. Okay, so thank you, Russ, for updating and bringing us, getting rid of some of the comments and stuff
Yeah.
that were,
Still can't figure out how to get involved in this whole side thing.
yeah. So on the, do you need a copy, George? It's teeny tiny writing. I'll give you that one and I'll use mine from last time. So we're,
Oh,
yeah, so this is the subdivision stuff.
Yeah, you want this?
He had
This is a driveway.
No, we're gonna talk about driveway at a future meeting,
Okay.
because Murray doesn't have anything new. So this is the subdivision.
Oh, okay.
182. And 5.
That would be good.
Yeah, so Russ just sent out a new version this afternoon. And we left off on. Well, there was that one part in the street design,
Yeah, number 4. A.
4A, it's still, we don't have an answer on that.
Okay.
And maybe Ken knows the answer to this. We're looking at the road standards. Or maybe George knows the answer too. The question was. It shall be the obligation of the developer planning a new road to do the following, and our regulations say, advise the select board and the road agent of their intent in order to secure approval for the proposed right of way. What is the process for that approval?
For an approved right of way,
Yeah, that's what it says, for a proposed right of way, for a new development.
you have to have a
What's
street permit.
Section 601.
Is it defined anywhere like that we could refer people to?
Don't know.
I don't either. I think they have to come into the select board.
Yeah, and we say
Yeah,
that.
okay.
And we say that, but we don't know where to, I guess we just refer them to the select board, but if somebody wants to know how to do that,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have to come to the select board, because there's no other place to go.
yeah,
If they get the development okayed here, then that would be the next.
yeah, so that seems like it's after the fact and not,
Chicken and the egg thing, because
Right.
it sounds like here that they have to come first. You guys say, hey, we're thinking about doing a road. And then
Well-
come here and do a road.
Yeah, at the same time, they still have to come to you guys and say, I'm got the subdivision, I want to do the subdivision.
Right.
So the road is part of the subdivision according to what you just read, so that has to be included in whatever we're gonna talk about for that subdivision. So each lot would be its own entity, each driveway would have a permit, the road itself would have to be done to the standards that are in our zoning.
yeah. So basically we have a whole road and utility standards section in our subdivision, and the attorney said, is this where this belongs, or should this belong under a select board responsibility versus planning board
I
responsibility?
think the final approval would have to go before the select board.
Yeah, that's what I think too, and which is why I think they're asking the question, but then the question is, if these aren't anywhere else, where do they belong? Like, should we keep them here, or should they be pulled out and made it their own thing?
I think should be kept part of that. Has to be approved by select. But that's a final sentence.
Yeah, okay,
I think if you're designing a subdivision,
you have. to
having it all
design-
right here,
Yeah,
Yeah, breaking it out and making.
one more thing to
Right,
vote for. or-
right.
Right.
right, okay,
The road thing was really a big problem, and a lot of the dirt roads that we have in town, we have severe issues with because we just let them plow the trees down and drop
Do
some
their
gravel
thing.
in the ground.
so did this come after that?
That came out, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cause I think Kent said he was fine with what was written. And I asked him if they were anywhere else, he said he would get back to me, but.
Years ago, they didn't go to the depth
Yeah,
roadways they do now.
yeah,
I mean, there was a lot of dirt roads in town that were fine, but during mud season,
right.
they're almost impassable.
Yeah, I remember Kent when they were, or maybe it was Tim when they were doing the culverts on West Road, when they started digging up, they were finding
Right.
things that were not good.
Well, I was working on the road department. I mean, summers in high school, 2 years, I worked
Mm.
with an agent, and that was when they were, regrading the road for hot top up West Road.
Oh, okay.
And I think that road ended just before, the brook comes across the road on the curve,
Okay.
and then it got upgraded after.
Yeah.
I think the way this is worded here, all you wanted something on the subdivision as regards a sign off by the select board and the road agent, say that they had approved the roadway.
Yeah, I mean, it says advise of their intent.
Yes, but it doesn't say approved.
Yeah,
Well, it's
Right.
basically, yeah, basically says
To
advise.
secure approval, but normally you'd want it documented on the subdivision to cover your
Yeah, that would
derriere.
kind of make sense, because right now it says notify the select board that the developer intends to secure approval. The developer builds the road, marks it, it gets inspected by someone who this doesn't say. And then down in
The
the
road
following
agent, yeah.
section on acceptance of streets, it says nothing in this document is going to modify the requirements of law with reference to acceptance of streets by the town. So the town must have its own process that's not in here that supplements this.
yeah,
for
right,
Acceptance of a street.
right,
guessing.
because I think that has to happen at town meeting. The town has to vote. Because it's taking on, maintenance and costs.
Well, any subdivision is their problem until they are done and turn it over to the town.
And the town has
Then
to
the
accept
town
it.
has to accept
Right,
the road.
right.
And I don't think that has to go before the town.
I don't
Because
think
the
so.
taxpayer base, I think the select board can just say
Okay,
that we're okay with this.
I think we have to have something in our zoning that gives the select board the authority to do that.
And probably needs to be written clearly in.
Yeah. And we may have it already. Yeah,
And we work with the road agent because
right. Because they're responsible for, yeah,
Should that be a check?
let's check on that.
You've got to check as part of the checkbox. We have.
The road agent would too would be the one inspecting the road as it's built.
Right.
You can't, this day and age, you can't let someone do something and then pave over and say, hey, we did it the way you said we were gonna. So, you have to dig out X amount of dirt, you have to put in X amount of fill, all that stuff has to be seen before it's covered.
But that's never been done.
Yeah, well, it actually has, it's, Josiah Lane, I think, and Sarah Drive, I think were the latest two to be done. Before that, it was just, whatever, and then all of a sudden it'd be this big 3-foot deep mud pit.
So do we think this statement then is okay the way it is, or did you have a suggestion, Maria? Did I hear that correctly? Advise the select board and road agent of their intent in order to secure approval for the proposed right of way.
That just says you're going to let road agent, select board know.
what page are you on?
I'm proposing.
Page
It's 13, yeah, it might be 12, because the page numbers are all messed up. I think it's just right here, George. It's right here, the highlighted one. Yeah. So, sorry. Do we need to be more specific?
We'll sign off at appropriate time.
Well, again, that's acceptance. Once we
Yeah.
accept it, then we've signed off on it.
Okay.
Basically.
Should we just cross out in order? To apply for approval?
Yeah, I don't think you need that, in order. but they definitely have to apply for approval.
Yeah,
So let me just read the scenario out loud, so I understand. it. So
Sure.
This would be, they're coming in to do a subdivision and they haven't, they're still going through the planning board's application process, but they're going to build a new road, so then they now have to go to the select board. Is this before we've accepted the application, or?
The subdivision would have to be approved prior to them building the road.
yeah, so it's,
Because
But it would-
they wouldn't put $1 million into a road
Right.
and then.
But at what point does this statement
Well,
happen?
so,
You put a proviso, I think, on the approval. So you'd say this is, the subdivision is approved with the proviso that the roads are complying with the,
but this is just for the right of way.
yeah,
So I think it's like, as if it were a driveway. They have to look at it and say,
Yeah.
you know, if the sight lines are okay, or, you know, there's no,
PRD. Similar because you'd still have a roadway in.
yeah,
If it was going to function more than one house, then it becomes a road, not a driveway. So there's a lot of things to consider there, so I don't know how you would get all of that into that. I mean, that's just part of the process.
Right,
It feels like we could cover it with an application checklist or
yeah,
our approval checklist.
yeah,
Board's approval checklist that says, hey, did you advise this, like,
yeah,
which is what it requires today.
so we would, before we sign off on that, we would want them to have gone to the select board to get there.
not to get approval,
They're just
There.
just to let them know,
Okay.
yeah,
giving them a heads up.
yeah,
But there's other,
And-
that's A, and B and C are activities that happen after.
Right.
It just says.
right,
Right.
For inspection.
right.
I mean, maybe the statement just stays in and then we add a checklist.
I had a problem with, these are amended on 215. On page 4.
You're looking at driveway. We're not doing, yeah, we're
Oh,
not
you're
doing
just
driveway.
going to-
We're just doing the
development?
subdivision. Yeah,
Alright.
we're just doing the subdivisions. We'll do the driveway at the next meeting.
All right, I guess. we can put it in.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I had an X, I think in our previous conversation, we talked about taking B out, but maybe we're
I think that's.
just
required.
rewording that. Because we're asking them to request an inspection and approval of the right of way after each of the following.
We had that crossed out.
Yeah, we did.
So that whole series of what happened, we said that wasn't up to us, that was at that point.
Yeah, and again, we're back to the, like, where, this is nowhere else in our
That's what,
zoning.
there's nowhere else. I think you have to at least leave it here.
Yeah. So maybe we just have to stay, like, put a introduction to that, the select board approval requires these steps. I know that's clunky the way I said it, but I think you get the idea.
As part of the checklist.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think if it's on the checklist, it's something that way you can indicate a little bit of information for the next steps, which would come in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else on the street stuff that we didn't cover last time?
Did we clarify the number 6, which is highlighted in red? Existing flat finance.
We were gonna make that black. That's what the note I had on mine.
Yeah, but I don't.
Oh,
think
my
we-
new one, that, it reminds me.
This is my old version, because George has my new one.
Yeah, the way the version is still highlighted in there.
Which letter?
It
What's the
is,
number?
Page 13.
6.01,
Yeah,
Number 6.
number 6.
existing class 5 was, that's weird. Mine is black.
Here's a bunch of black.
Is that the same date
Is
as
that the
mine?
one he sent today?
Yep, that's one he sent today.
Ah, that's weird.
Yeah, you also have the comments still on the side there.
Oh, do it because
I
it's
thought
on
we're-
the comment, no, the comments are there.
Those things.
Yes, but that's.
I don't have those.
Yes, but
If
that's.
we moved on,
They have them on.
What's-
those.
Because on
That-
5,
yeah.
the inspection sample report.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Down. And then there's,
Yeah.
that's,
It's always best to look, yeah, because sometimes they don't
yeah,
print.
this is the one. You have it in, it's
If you don't ask.
in
for it.
black, 6. This one.
It was in the last meeting minutes
Yeah,
as a change.
existing class 5 road, this one.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I just said make it black because we are keeping that.
Yep.
Okay,
Also, there was a line in 7 as well. It's needs more precise.
yep.
rubric.
Yeah, we didn't do section 7 last meeting, so that's where we're starting fresh today. So if we go on to section 7,
Section 7, I think you're saying.
You say
Um,
number.
oh, number 7?
Number 7.
Oh, sorry.
Section 6.01.
I had crossed out where. Now I crossed it out, so I can't read it. No judgment or something like that,
Yeah, in its judgment.
Yeah.
and in its judgment, so we just,
Yeah, we got rid of that.
Until we-
Yeah.
there Needs a more precise rubric here.
we just said when existing topography, conditions or preservation.
October 5.
That's the old one.
Well, that's the one I was saying.
No.
Everybody,
That's the one. I-
look at an email.
I just sent you today. I just sent one this afternoon.
It was when you were out, Keith. It came really late in the day. That's why.
Yeah, it's like on 3 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I try and get.
Yeah.
Before, so I got the right document.
well, if you can keep the one you have up right now because
Yep.
we're moving on to section 7 and we didn't make any changes starting there, so.
Good.
701, the lawyer suggested adding and or waivers. Or add waivers and or waivers.
Or modifications, right?
Yes, under modifications there, 701.
So under that, I just threw in that word waived. I didn't know if that's what you meant.
Yeah. Yep, unless he wants us to say,
Request.
a waiver may be requested in writing. We probably need to say a waiver needs to be requested in writing. Just because we say that earlier about waivers. During the application process. I don't remember what section that is. Whatever was in that first. You might have rearranged it.
Compliance.
Waiver request submitted in writing and clearly identifying the section of the application regulations and or check, it's under design review phase 2.02. Letter A, number 4. So just that same language.
Okay.
Okay. down to 7.05 penalties. Unless there's anybody has a question before then. That they just said, rewrite this, that to be that any penalties would be in accordance with RSA chapter 676.
To get rid of that whole,
Well, that's
Red
what
tape?
they're saying,
I think we're just saying not to write
the whole
RSA,
RSA,
to indicate the changes.
right, which it did.
Okay,
And it did, last year, so it would have to say as amended.
right.
Yeah, if the intent of this is covered in that RSA.
Yeah. I think we did just take it right out of the RSA, right?
yeah,
Did you say you're gonna put in there as amended?
As amended,
Yeah.
yep. And then they cited a different RSA for the appeals. And I don't know, they just, and then for amendment, it just says in accordance with RSA 675-6, rather than writing out the whole thing. So maybe that's another as amended. In case they change it.
what I did is I didn't catch them all, but most of them that say, the RSAs as amended.
Mhm.
Some said and some didn't, so it was either just as amended and then in the definitions.
Oh, right,
RSA
that's right,
always has-
right. So I don't have anything until definitions. So under a butter, he said use the statutory language, which just says a butter means any, I'll send this to you if you don't have it. A butter means any person whose property is located in New Hampshire and adjoins or is directly across the street or stream from the land under consideration by the local land use board. I don't know why we have to say in New Hampshire, I think, but that's their definition.
But then mentioning the RSA in there.
We could, 672.3.
Because that way then if it changes,
Yeah, which it might actually. I think there's a bill this year where they're talking about taking out the diagonal a butter.
You know,
I don't know if it'll pass, but it's under consideration.
so I could just cut and paste from 672.3 and stick it there.
Yeah, I mean, I have it. I think that's what I did, but then down to
approval.
conditional approval. Again, I think it's referring to the RSA.
So again, copy the RSA and just put it in.
For RSA.
So I'm gonna just read what it says for conditional approval. And that's RSA 676-4 Roman numeral 1, and then it's lowercase I in parentheses.
Might want to be careful because it looks like
It's not correct in the in the lawyer's text. I think it probably auto-corrected. But it says the planning board may grant conditional approval of a plat or application, which approval shall become final without further public hearing upon certification to the board by its designee or based upon, you don't have to write all this down, based upon evidence submitted by the applicant or satisfactory compliance with the conditions imposed. Such conditions may include a statement notifying the applicant that an approval is conditioned upon the receipt of state or federal permits relating to a project. However, a planning board may not refuse to process an application solely for lack of said permits.
Cut and paste that or just say CRSA?
Well, I mean, again, it's one of those, like, do we want to give people the information or make them chase it down? But I feel like that can be said
Well,
more
if you're
simply, but
If you're gonna do it for the button,
we might as well.
I
yeah.
also think if you're gonna quote the RSA, you might as well say the whole thing and not try and paraphrase.
Yeah, right,
I don't wanna-
because you could get in trouble,
Yeah.
right,
They took a long time to figure out the exact legal words.
right.
Okay.
And then down to engineer,
Sorry, so are we, for these definitions, we're going to refer them to the RSA and not put the text in here?
No, the put in the text.
Cut and paste the text. in
Yeah,
there
yeah.
And then little parentheses RSA or whatever.
And even if they change it, it would still apply, because we would write it as amended.
as amended,
Yeah.
that's a good question.
Hmm.
So they're saying it's not the engineer of the town of templates, the engineer of the application.
Um,
Maybe both.
Engineer.
yeah, so earlier in our subdivision regulations, the engineer we refer to is the one hired by the applicant. And here we're saying it's somebody the town designates. So it's confusing, it's contradictory.
We actually do. I'm gonna try to find it, but we use engineer as in the town somewhere in here.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
If you do a quick search for engineer, how many times is it?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't it both? Because, I mean, the engineer, the applicant, is in with it, but then our road agents, regardless of the engineer is going to.
I don't think so.
Maybe if he doesn't have the call.
No, we just call him the road agent.
So then if we don't have an engineer, we can't reference him in here, can we?
Do we,
No,
we reference it?
We would rely on their engineer
Engineer.
plans, so
We
there-
rely on that
we would
engineer.
rely on their stamped plans.
Yeah.
Right,
And it has to be a stamped set of plans. So
So we would take that down the town. Case.
they would have had to have done all the math,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Because of this.
Yeah, just do a search for engineer.
So,
There's stormwater engineer that we reference,
those are very specific.
so I feel like that's
Yeah,
already
one of those
defined, right?
Right.
So I think that's,
Yeah, but do it in the back. Search in the background.
that's the only thing.
I wonder if this was intended to be a town engineer, or, because the rest of it reads like. The planning consultant or official assigned by the Temple Planning Board, so like you don't need to do a third party review.
Right, exactly. Right, or we would ask them to hire an engineer to do something specific.
So it would be just a.
It's like NAPWA has their own engineer.
Yeah,
Right.
VHS does, but we
Yeah.
right.
We should just-
obviously can't go
Just take it out.
Yeah, I think, yeah,
We don't,
we don't have.
we can all do a thorough read before we make a final decision, but it sounds like that should come out.
Do that, or we could just define it like a civil engineer. What does engineer mean? It means a licensed professional in the state of New Hampshire.
Right,
You know,
If we're describing it in the case of the,
any engineer, even if it was the town that hired an engineer, they gotta be a licensed guy. with a
Right.
stamp.
there. You
yeah,
gotta have the stamp.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're an engineer.
you gotta
have
have
to
a
have
stamp,
the stamp.
yeah.
earlier on it mentions in there about,
yeah, the only one I see is the
it
stormwater.
says a list
And that
of,
would be like a civil engineer with the.
it says that every
Right.
engineer, architect, land surveyor or soil scientist whose professional seal appears on any plan.
Gee, right, so that's what.
So that's earlier on page 3.
Yeah.
really, where it mentions it has to be an engineer.
Yeah.
and that's who we refer to.
You know, and that's, well, then maybe it would be better to get rid of engineer because we're not defining surveyor or soil
Yeah.
scientist
Yeah.
or any of those other guys.
Right,
You are earlier.
I think you kill it, I think you.
right,
Yeah,
okay. So down to health officer, the question was, should we add any other
Now it says, shall mean the health officer of town to town.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
He's
We-
not an engineer either.
No, he's a smart guy,
He
though.
is. And he could probably, if he doesn't know it, he could probably get the answer for us, but
Yep,
we don't wanna label him in anything he's not.
No, it just says.
no,
the
it's, we
health
just
officer
define health
is-
officer.
Yeah.
But we don't define road agent, we don't, yeah,
So get that, scratch that one too? Or
Well,
leave it?
what it says is, why is the only focus on the health officer? Should there be building officials reference?
building inspector,
I think I know why I put it there, is because his stamp has to go on subdivision.
The health officer?
mm,
But should we also define then the road agent? and-
They don't have to.
they don't
They
the
sign
only-
it.
Like when I did this, my subdivision up the road, the only people that stamped it was me and Pete.
Yeah. Well, the road agent is probably defined in the driveway regs, but-
Right.
Yeah,
but we do have the road agent in our street.
That would probably easy.
Yeah.
They leave it because it's part of the application process.
No,
Right. Well, we're putting in road agent, we should keep health officer then too, right?
Yeah, just don't define it.
Yeah,
Just-
it just says the health officer of the town of Temple.
You know,
there may be,
As long as we don't define it, then
Yeah,
we can wing that.
yep,
in our definition.
yep.
people don't, we can add road agent to it.
Yeah, let's add road agent.
Is there anything we want to say? The road agent, just say that. Road agent.
Shall mean the road agent of the town of Temple. So, yeah, we're basically saying they can't bring in their own
I
health
suppose you could get
officer.
somebody else,
road
yeah.
agent. It's the one that we say is,
Right.
has the authority.
Then there's the term utilities.
Then on, yeah, utilities, they want to know, do we include sewer, septic and well? We still require sewer, septic and well, or if it's, they're creating a buildable lot, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we don't provide it.
We don't provide any utilities,
We
do we?
don't provide
No,
it,
no.
so-
No, that's just where we're looking at that subdivision minor. The definition, the subdivision of land into 2 lots and requiring no new roads, utilities, or other municipal improvements, but we are requiring utilities. Well, we're requiring sewer and septic.
Yes.
Maybe we just take.
And well.
utilities
Those
out.
out, scratch it.
Yep,
So what this says, the way it's written, is a subdivision of 2 empty lots. That doesn't require utilities, can be minor. Is that the intent? Or when you subdivide a lot, does it have to be buildable with a ability to put a septic in, is that?
it does have to be buildable. Unless they're putting it in conservation or,
Right, so kind of what the way it's written now is if you're subdividing it with the intent of building it, it's not minor. Is how I interpret that.
yeah, no, I
If
see
you,
what you're
if you,
saying.
if in your subdivision application, you say, I will never put utilities on this property, then it's considered minor.
Yeah, and we don't,
I don't think that was.
that's not what we are saying.
Or pull utilities.
Yeah.
out.
But we've done minor subdivisions and
Right.
required sewer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is fix.
So is this right? 2 lots? 2 lots is minor and anything more than 2 is major.
That's, have we, yeah, I mean, that's how we've done it, but I don't know if there's a reason why.
I just didn't, I was
Yeah,
looking at it, I'm like 2 lots, huh?
So it's one lot becoming 2.
yeah,
Well, different towns do different. Some towns, the threshold is 4 lots, some
Mhm.
3, and then I also thought, oh, that right there.
I think that's.
That's what we did. Okay.
do you know, George?
Okay.
Minor subdivisions, has it always been just 2 lots?
I would think so.
Yeah, That's
Good.
all we had. So, you'll make some changes maybe, and we'll look at it. I know Bruce isn't here, so I don't wanna set a date for, I guess if you make the changes, I can send it back for another legal review.
Yep.
And then we can,
Um,
yep, talk about it at our next meeting.
Back to your waiver requests or waiver discussions
Mhm.
on the application. Each one of the requirements, there's a checkbox for waiver request. Sort of prompting the applicant if they want. to waive
Right.
Hmm.
Right.
request.
So are we adding to this application suggested checkbox?
Yeah, I forgot to print the application.
mine didn't go out.
I can, look up to see if it's.
Thanks. I know George doesn't have a printed copy either, so maybe we should, maybe we should look at it. Yeah, I can't see that. I don't know. Can you read that, George?
No. Yeah,
Me neither.
because I haven't messed with this
In a
through the
long,
last few of these revisions, so there might be
Okay.
things that.
so maybe do that. That okay with everyone if we,
Yeah.
if we have him review that?
I'll just note, note what I see here is that in the major subdivision section.
Yep.
There is a
You-
checklist.
It's not for me, sorry. Go ahead, Maureen.
In the major subdivision section, there is a checklist item, final road profiles, cross sections. It's not really the road layout, but it's
Mm.
detailed.
Okay,
But we could add in there, notified select board of intent to.
right,
Dot, 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 dot,
Right.
dot.
Okay.
That just could be a checklist to say.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we or the applicant don't forget it.
right. And did you reorder? We talked about at the last meeting, reordering some of those sections, so it was. Here's what everybody has to do, and then here's what you do for lot line.
Yeah, what I did was the first one. Instead of saying for boundary line adjustments, I just said for all lots,
Mhm.
because that's what really it was.
Yep,
And then the next section, I just moved the part up that said you have to do everything in the previous section plus all this other stuff.
yep, okay. So is everybody happy with how that looks now?
Ideally, the checklist on the application would kind of mimic.
That's what I
Right.
tried, but I don't think it's the same now.
Yeah, because we made some changes, right? Okay. So then, you'll make some changes. I'll send it to the lawyer and we may or may not hear before our next meeting, so I'll just let you know if I get any comments and we'll look at it. Next opportunity. And then driveway, do you think you'll have something for us on driveway for the next meeting? Okay. So while you're looking,
Maybe.
okay. Just so we can try to
The
take
comments we received.
some of these things off our to-do list. Because I think we got pretty far with the last one and we were just, because of that change in the law,
Paused.
we paused because it was not very clear. Yeah. So, the only other stuff I have is that webinar last week was good. It was interesting. If you have an hour to watch the recording, it's helpful. I think I sent out the slides or a link to the slides. This week, this Thursday, the topic is the intersection of development and clean water. That's Thursday at noon. Same thing, they'll send out slides. It'll be recorded, so you can watch it later. And I think it's on both the NHMA website and the Office of Planning and Development. They both are hosting it, but if you have trouble finding the link, let me know. I did hear from Nicole Concordia who watched it and said everybody should watch this. So there's a plug from her. That's really all I have for now. Does anybody have anything else? you want to talk about? Okay. So our next meeting's March 5th. 7 PM. We'll be here.
So before I got here, you talked about the public. comment.
I did, yeah, and I asked if anybody could go to the meeting tomorrow night. I have another commitment at 7. It's on their agenda for 8. There is a Zoom link if you can't be there in person to listen in. They will ask you to identify yourself. And Carter's gonna try to go, but you know, whoever wants to go can go. It'd be really helpful to just find out where they're at. They tabled it at their last meeting, so nothing has happened since the January meeting.
They have a lot of people at that meeting.
There was one abutter there with their attorney, and then they have a planning staff person in New Ipswich who was also there advising the applicant, and then it was me, and there was one other person. I don't know if they were in a butter or just somebody that was there.
besides the planning.
Yeah, and then the planning board members.
Were there
Yeah,
some comments from some of the abutters about the traffic though?
the abutter that was there didn't comment on the traffic. The planning board chair just noted that there was concerns about it. There was also concerns, I think I said this at the last meeting, about a flood control area on one of the abutting properties. There's concerns about slopes. Yeah, because it's a former sand pit, there's a gravel pit, it's gravel, right? Yeah, so they had some concerns and some things they were looking at, and they hadn't accepted the application as complete yet. It's still in the design review phase. So still pretty early. And it was really interesting. You know, if you have a chance, because I've never done a complicated development like that. I don't, George probably has.
Okay.
I'm sure George has. But they're trying to do it as like a
Yes,
like a conservation. So they're trying to
Oh.
get high density and then put the area that's not developable into conservation.
Overlay
But
district,
Sorry?
the overlay district, do you think?
No. I think they just allow that, but in order to do that, they also have to map it out as if it were a conventional subdivision to see how many lots would be allowed. And some of the lots that they mapped out as they considered to be developable, the planning board said that is not a lot you can put a house on. So it needs to be thrown out of your calculations. So I don't, based on what I heard, I don't think it's gonna be 33 lots that they're gonna get approved. And because of all of those reasons, but I don't know what they're gonna decide.
That's a cost analysis.
Right,
we hauled a lot of gravel out of there for quite
yeah.
a few years.
Yeah. And they noted the condition of the road, and they noted the concerns about emergency access. If there's only one decent road in and out, if, you know, the other way out is not a great road. So they were talking to, you know, their fire department, and they're doing their due diligence, it sounds like. So we'll have to see where it goes. Was there anything else early on we should let Murray know about?
I appreciate that.
Sure. So just the other thing with the NRI, Natural Resources, that plan to read that document I sent out today for the March 19th meeting.
Okay.
Yep. That's it.
Did you have a chance to travel over that road?
I didn't. I mean, I have before, but it's probably been years. I think I got my GPS sent me that way once, but I've heard it's not a great road.
Well, if you took 124 up to Appleton Road,
Yeah.
and took a right, that would take you off there. But there's a fairly good sized house on the right hand side that sits about 6 feet from the road.
Wow.
That was where my grandfather lived and went
Ah.
to school in Ipswich.
Wow.
Ah,
Cool.
He used to slide down the road to go to school.
I have taken it on a bicycle all the way down.
Oh.
On very thin tires and realized that was a mistake. Once I got.
You have to move back.
Um,
You have to move back.
I guess I'll also mention the new books are in. We got 3 books and 1 electronic version, and the other ones are in the office. Again, I dropped off the rest for, I think the select board gets one, and I don't know who else, but
Yeah, it just stays on.
yeah,
We look for a motion to adjourn,
we are.
so move.
Thank you, George.
Second,
All right,
Yes.
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 yes,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Do you want it? Are you gonna go? Do you want it?
You'll probably go.
Okay.
I might.
I might.
Do the link.
I'm gonna zoom.
Yeah, good, that's great.
That work electronically?
It's on there. You can have this. I think it's on their website.
Yeah, it'll, the link will take you directly there, but. Get home in time for the UConn basketball game.
That's good, I got it.